I'm Jay Taylor. I'm the editor of a newsletter called Jay Taylor's Gold, Energy, and Tech Stocks, and I'm also the host of a radio show called Turning Hard Times into Good Times. I'm here at the Metals Investor Forum in Vancouver. It's September 6, 2019, and I'm very pleased to be with Darin Wagner. He is the president and CEO of a company that I really have been following for some time, Balmoral Resources, and it's a company that has had a lot of success exploring for gold, and then more recently a very good success and made a substantial nickel deposit discovery, and now more recently again, I think not just because gold is getting better, but because a neighbor is finding some gold right next to their property. And the exciting story for me right now, since the markets seem to love gold more than nickel for whatever reason, nickel and gold is looking really good, and your project is looking really good. I think it's called Area 52. Talk to us about Area 52. It's in Quebec, and what's going on there that's causing some excitement in the market?
Yeah, so I think Area 52 is a package of ground. It's part of our regional play. I mean, we hold 700 square kilometers up there, so it's a small part of that. But it's the confluence of two gold-bearing structures. The big Sunday Lake regional fault system that hosts the mammoth 20 million ounce Detour deposit.
Sort of east-west.
Yep, it's an east-west structure, and to the west it hosts Detour, which is 20 plus million ounces. And then recently our neighbor has made a discovery on a northwest trending structure. So the two of them are going to come down and they're going to intersect each other. And we hold the ground for about a kilometer of the trend that they've discovered, and then multiple tens of kilometers along that Sunday Lake deformation zone. But right now, really, the focus is getting some drill holes into that confluence where the two come together.
Yeah.
And so we know there's gold in both systems, and fingers crossed that there's a lot of gold where the two of them come together. And our task is to go find that underneath all the dirt that's up there.
Well, and you've drilled it. How many holes so far you've drilled, and they're off to the assays now?
Yep. So as we're sitting here today, there's we did about 2,000 meters, 2,100 meters in the first program. Those results are in the lab, and we would expect those by mid-September. And then we've already started the follow-up program for that. So, I guess the simple truth is that there was enough visual encouragement in those holes for us to get right back out there with the drill again. And that program will continue through September, probably into October. And let's see what we've got. And with any luck, between what they're finding and what we're finding, it gets to be big enough and sizable enough asset that somebody sweeps in and says, "Thank you, gentlemen, for the good work," and off we go.
Yeah. So you've embarked on the next drill program without seeing the assays from the first. What did you see there?
We don't do that very often, but we have put out a release that gave a bit of guidance on that. And basically, what we've seen is mineralization along the Area 51 trend that we believe is very similar to what the neighbor's hitting. So we have an expectation that there's going to be gold mineralization in there. We've also seen mineralization that we think is a separate system from that, so likely moving on that regional scale fault system. And I think, at least visually, impact, in terms of visual impact, in terms of what we can see, it's pretty interesting. We're confident there's some gold there. It's a question of how much, and in those first four holes. So.
Okay, well that has you on the map again for the gold bugs. Yes. They're watching and they're curious, and as I am, because I said I've got to get some shares of this thing now. This is looking very interesting. But your longer term play is still nickel, and you talk to us a little bit about nickel. Now, you take what Mother Nature gives you, but nonetheless, nickel has some long term possibilities. Talk to us first of all about the nickel markets and why you're bullish on nickel, and then secondly, perhaps talk a little bit about your Grisette property, and because it's a pretty substantial deposit already.
It's a pretty neat asset. I think on the nickel side. It's pretty rare in the metal space period that we see any kind of a brand new global scale demand stream emerge for a metal. But that's exactly what we're seeing in nickel and in lithium from the electric the emergence of the electric vehicles. So we're seeing the introduction of a demand stream that's not been out there at all in a market, in the nickel market, that's relatively small for the base metals, the smallest of the base metal markets, and one that's somewhat precariously balanced. And nickel's had a habit of being very volatile because the supply and demand are usually matched fairly well. But now you're going to introduce a brand new demand that you don't have the supply to meet. And so that's, and it's what we call Class 1 nickel. So it's nickel from sulfide deposits that is used in the electric vehicles. And so we see a huge opportunity, both for ourselves, but also in the nickel space in general for investors, to be part of the solution to the problem in the nickel sulfide space. And that's where Grisette comes in. And Grisette's a deposit we found in 2014. Helped boost the stock to almost a $200 million market cap at that point in time. Nickel was on a good run then, crashed in 2015, took the stock with it, unfortunately. But Grisette has grown to be the biggest high-grade nickel sulfide deposit in Canada's vast Abitibi region. It's still open. It's still open at depth below about 500 vertical meters. It's open along strike. And it's the first of what is now 3 discoveries we've made in a belt of rocks that stretches for about 10 or 11 kilometers. And so we'll be back to work at Grisette once the ground freezes and we have working at depth to drill out further on Grisette, try to add to what is currently about a 3.5 million ounce high grade resource. And it's a project that's very leveraged to nickel. So with the recent move from the $5.50 to $6 range into the $8 range, the value of an asset like Grisette just increases on a daily basis without us drilling another hole into it.
Sure.
So it's a big system. It has room to grow. It has high grade. It's really well located. And it's exactly the kind of feed that the nickel smelters love to have. So it really is a foundational asset for us, but one that's been hidden because the nickel price has been so depressed over the last few years.
Right, and I know that you're needing to, you feel, to outline a larger deposit to have the big guys, the guys that are really interested in a project like this. You need to make it a little bigger, or you mentioned, I know you staked all this new ground with lots of nickel discoveries or appearances of nickel. What is your priority then? Will you go to drill at depth at the Grisette where you have mineralization, or might you go to some of these others?
Grisette near term expanding Grisette is the bigger priority.
Yeah.
We've had lots of contact with the nickel producers.
Sure.
And we think we understand fairly clearly what it is that they're actually looking for in terms of size and scale. And it's not that we have to triple it. We have, but we would like to push it a little further. Nickel's a funny space. There aren't a lot of intermediate producers in the nickel space. You're either playing with the big boys or you're doing it yourself. So our conversations with them suggest, okay, get in there, do some drilling. If we can make it bigger, it is the kind of thing we're very interested in. And they don't have a lot of opportunities to look at. I mean, we had 24, 25 companies here at the forum today. We're the only one with a nickel asset.
Yeah.
So it's a fairly rare space, but with the strong move and what we project to be the move going forward, we think it's a great space to be in, and it provides us with a nice balance to the gold opportunities as well.
Right.
And maybe ultimately someday it gets us to the plate where we actually end up with two commodity specific companies. But
Sure.
for the moment, we think they actually complement each other as the both markets are moving.
Right. No, there's no doubt about it. Obviously, you have a Class A asset there that you need to make a little bit bigger.
Yep.
And the nickel story is quite an interesting one. I guess because there's not that many other people chasing these things too. It's when it does catch on in the market, I think people will probably really value you much higher than they are now. But in the meantime, at least you have gold, some very exciting gold prospects, and that could really drive the stock. Actually, the stock did respond, didn't it, to the gold move?
It responded just
to the gold.
Just to the fact that we were going drilling.
That next to another discovery.
Yeah, that speaks to the markets having improved.
Yeah.
But it also speaks to the focus that comes with the gold discovery. So the stock pretty much doubled with the announcement that we were going drilling. Be fun to see what happens in a couple weeks' time when it announces what we've got. Well, that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, we're holding our breath, hoping that it's the right direction.
All right.
And I read your press releases religiously and want to know as much as I can from them. So thank you very much, Darin. And anything else you'd like to add?
No, my pleasure as always. Just stay tuned. I mean, there's results coming. The drill is back up and running, and there'll be more results to follow. And if you haven't, go have a look at what's going on in the nickel market, because it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we think there's an opportunity there that not a lot of people realize is evolving, and it might be a place that can help your portfolio as well.
Yeah, for sure. The electric car industry is definitely taking off. So it's very exciting. Very good.
right.
Thank you, Darin.
Thank you
so
sir.
much.
Always a pleasure.
All the best.